Yo, what's up everybody? It's Augustine. Welcome back to the channel where we explore the wild, the wonderful, and sometimes the downright scandalous side of our world. Today we're diving headfirst into a topic that's sure to raise some eyebrows. The top 10 countries with the freest sex cultures. Now, before you get any ideas, this isn't about judging anyone or any culture. This is about understanding how different societies around the world approach sexuality, the factors that have shaped their attitudes, and what we can learn from each other. Buckle up, because things are about to get interesting. All right, let's kick things off in Thailand, a country practically synonymous with sex tourism. Now, it's important to acknowledge the complexities here. Thailand has a reputation as a sex paradise, especially with places like Patpong in Bangkok, and there's no denying the presence of a significant sex industry. But here's the thing. Prostitution in Thailand exists in a legal grey area. It's not technically legal, but it's widely tolerated and regulated, with health checks mandatory for sex workers. This kind of ambiguity reflects the country's overall approach to sexuality, which is surprisingly open in some ways, yet bound by traditional values in others. Think about it. Thailand is a deeply Buddhist country, where premarital sex is generally frowned upon. Yet it's also a place where you can find go-go bars and massage parlors openly operating. This fascinating contrast is what we're going to unpack in this episode. We'll explore the historical factors, the economic realities, and the cultural nuances that have shaped Thailand's unique relationship with sex. So stick around, because we're just getting started. Let's shift gears and head over to Scandinavia, specifically Denmark, where they've got this whole hig thing down pat. You know, that cozy, contented feeling. Well, turns out a big part of that comes from their super chill attitude towards sex. In Denmark, sex is viewed as a natural part of life, something to be enjoyed openly and without shame. I mean, they've got sex shops right next to bakeries, for crying out loud. And brothels, totally legal and regulated, just like any other business, but it goes beyond just the legal stuff. Danish society is all about open communication and acceptance when it comes to sexuality. Sex education starts early and is super comprehensive, so kids grow up with healthy attitudes towards sex and relationships. This open approach has actually led to some pretty interesting results. Studies have shown that Denmark has lower rates of sexually transmitted infections and unwanted pregnancies compared to other developed countries. Coincidence? I think not. All right, let's jet set over to Italy, the land of passionate romance, delicious pasta, and, well, a history peppered with some pretty scandalous stories. I mean, have you heard about Pompeii? Let's just say the volcanic ash preserved more than just buildings. Italy has always had a complicated relationship with sex. On the one hand, you've got the Catholic Church, a powerful force advocating for conservative values. On the other hand, you've got a culture that celebrates beauty, sensuality, and pleasure. This clash has led to some pretty interesting contradictions. Italy has a thriving sex industry, and let's be real, some of the most infamous scandals involving politicians and, shall we say, extracurricular activities. But here's the thing, despite the scandals and the historical baggage, Italians generally have a pretty open and accepting attitude towards sexuality. They're comfortable talking about sex, they're not afraid to express their desires, and they value intimacy and connection. Chapter 4, Germany Efficiency meets Open-Mindedness. Next up, we're heading to Germany, a country known for its efficiency, its beer gardens, and, as it turns out, its surprisingly liberal attitude towards sex. Now, Germany approaches prostitution with their trademark practicality. It's a legal and regulated industry with an estimated 49 sex workers per 10,000 women. That's a lot of people paying their taxes. But beyond the legalities, what's really interesting is the German attitude towards sex in general. They're pretty open-minded, with surveys suggesting a higher rate of infidelity among German women compared to other European countries. Now, before you jump to conclusions, this isn't necessarily about a lack of commitment or respect in relationships. It might actually reflect a more pragmatic approach to monogamy and a willingness to explore their desires within a relationship or outside of it. Chapter 5, France. Liberté, égalité, sexualité. Bonjour from France, the land of romance, fashion, and a certain je ne sais quoi when it comes to matters of the heart and other body parts. The French have this reputation for being all about love and seduction, and honestly, it's not that far off. They've got a refreshingly liberal approach to sexuality, and it shows in their culture. For starters, the French are way more comfortable with nudity than, say, your average American. Think about it. They've got nude beaches, topless sunbathing is totally normal, and even their advertisements can get a little risque. And don't even get me started on their movies. Let's just say French cinema isn't afraid to explore the complexities of desire and sexuality, even if it makes some people blush. Chapter 6, Norway, progressive paradise with a catch. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're heading north to Norway, a country known for its stunning fjords, its cozy cabins, and its surprisingly progressive laws. Now, you might think a country that's basically a real-life winter wonderland would be a little uptight, but Norway is anything but. They're super progressive when it comes to social issues, and that includes sex. However, there's a twist. While Norway might seem like a haven for sexual freedom, they actually made a bold move. Back in 2009, they outlawed the buying and selling of sex. Yep, you heard that right. Prostitution is illegal in Norway. But here's the thing. This law wasn't about shaming sex workers or limiting personal freedom. It was actually intended to protect them from exploitation and trafficking. Chapter 7. Belgium. Open relationships and online love. Get ready to say hello to Belgium, a country known for its waffles, its chocolate, and as it turns out, its very modern approach to love and relationships. See, Belgians are all about embracing technology, and that includes how they find love. Online dating is huge in Belgium, with a ton of people swiping right and left to find their match. But it's not just about finding the one. Belgians are also super open to the idea of non-monogamous relationships. Open relationships, polyamory, ethical non-monogamy, you name it, they're down to explore it. This open-mindedness might come from their history of being a crossroads of cultures. Belgium has influences from France, Germany, the Netherlands. It's a melting pot of ideas, and that includes ideas about love and sex. Chapter 8, Spain fiestas, siesta, and a red-hot sex industry. Hola from Spain, a country known for its fiery flamenco dancing, its delicious tapas, and let's be real, its rather robust sex industry. Now you might think a country with such strong Catholic roots would be a little more, shall we say, reserved when it comes to sexuality. But Spain is a land of contradictions, and their approach to sex is no exception. On the one hand, you've got traditional values and religious influences. On the other hand, you've got a culture that celebrates pleasure, passion, and living life to the fullest. And let's not forget the Spanish economy. The sex industry is a major player, bringing in billions of euros every year. In fact, Spain has been called the brothel of Europe, with some estimates suggesting there are more brothels than schools. Chapter 9, England, cheeky, cheating, and a bit conflicted. All right, lads and lasses, let's pop over to England, the land of tea, crumpets, and, well, a bit of a complicated relationship with sex. On the surface, the English might seem a bit reserved, what with their stiff upper lip and all, but don't let that fool you. Underneath that proper exterior lies a nation with a healthy appetite for all things naughty. For starters, England has one of the highest infidelity rates in the world. Yep, you heard that right. It seems all those rom-coms about affairs set in the English countryside might not be too far off the mark, but it's not just cheating. England also has a relatively high teenage pregnancy rate, which suggests that while they love a good time, they might not be having the most open and honest conversations about sex education. Chapter 10. Finland, saunas, silence, and casual encounters. We're wrapping things up in Finland, the land of 1,000 lakes, heavy metal music, and a surprisingly chill approach to casual sex. Now, the Finns are known for their love of saunas, their introverted nature, and their general appreciation for peace and quiet. But don't let that fool you into thinking they're not down for a good time. In Finland, there's a growing trend of people opting out of traditional relationships altogether. They're all about keeping things casual, with no strings attached. Think of it as the Scandinavian version of friends with benefits. This approach to relationships might seem a bit foreign to some, but it makes sense in the context of Finnish culture. They value independence, honesty, and personal space. So instead of forcing themselves into relationships that might not be fulfilling, they're choosing to define their own terms. Outro: stay curious, stay open-minded. So, there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour of some of the freest sex cultures in the world. We've seen how different countries approach sexuality, from the legal frameworks to the cultural attitudes that shape how people experience and express their desires. Remember, the point here wasn't about judging anyone or saying one culture is better than another. It's about understanding the diversity of human experience and challenging our own preconceived notions. If you found this video eye-opening, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. Which country's approach to sex surprised you the most? Let's keep the conversation going.